This is Speaking of Speaking. Quick tips and tools to take you from stage fright to spotlight. This podcast gives you an inside look from the world of public speaking and the speaking secrets you need to be bold from the stage, no matter what business you're in. The host of Speaking, Carl Richards.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, it's another edition of the Speaking of Speaking podcast. I am so honored that we have another guest today. So thrilled to welcome Kimberley Day. Kimberley is a marketing expert, consultant, and influencer. She's the author of the book Write and Grow Rich. I wonder what we'll be talking about today, perhaps writing at some point. She's also the host of Talk Tuesdays on Facebook, which you can catch that anytime. And I've had a chance to be on a couple of those. Very thrilled to have her on my podcast today. Kimberley Day, thanks for joining me.
It's amazing to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me, Kimberley, why of all people on planet Earth should people be listening to you and the topic we'll be covering today?
And it's funny that you say that, Carl, because I actually have two rules when I'm speaking to people. One is that don't believe a word I say, because I'm actually coming simply from my own perspective. So if you learn something today and want to implement it into your business, great. If you don't, you can leave it behind, and that's okay. And the second rule I usually have when I'm speaking is to participate. So, we learn better when we're participating. So if you can grab a notebook and take some notes, then that's great. I'm going to try and pack as much value into this short time as I can. But my backstory is that for 13 years, I was one of usually a dozen financial advisors at every networking event, struggling to compete for clients in an overcrowded and skeptical market. And then after publishing my very first book, was called The Financial Fitness Playbook, everything changed. And in less than 12 months, I had quite literally doubled my income and doubled the amount of clients I had in my business. And it was such a game changer that I'm now super passionate about helping other people achieve those same results by writing and publishing their very own game-changing book.
Those are great perspectives. And yes, it's one of the things that as soon as I took the plunge, and I haven't published a book yet. We'll have to talk about that off the podcast. But when I took the first big step and I was part of a project where there were other thought leaders and other entrepreneurs in that writing project, things started to change a little bit. I could now put published author beside the name on the business card. And it does make a huge difference. When it comes to being published, though, and we'll talk about how speaking correlates with that as we go through this podcast. But when it comes to getting published, there are so many challenges that entrepreneurs have when it comes to marketing. What are some of those?
Well, and it's great that you bring that up, because it's not really about a book, Carl. It's about what a book does for your marketing. So I really believe that as an entrepreneur, one of my biggest challenges was struggling with my lead generation and my prospecting. And what a book does is solves a bunch of those different marketing problems. So the first problem that it solves is it helps you with your attraction. So it helps make your prospects come to you instead of you having to chase them all down. So that is absolutely one of the most powerful things that you can do for a book. And the way that that works is that you need to be super clear with who your target market is, the messaging you're trying to get out to them. And typically that is done by the problem that you solve for your client. And if you can make that really super clear in your book title and subtitle, then you can start attracting that perfect client right into your business like a magnet.
Because let's face it, everyone is looking for the perfect client, right?
Absolutely. And the second thing that it does for your marketing is it helps you stand out from the crowd. So when somebody's looking to do business with you versus your competition, with a book, you differentiate yourself from your competition and virtually eliminate them.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's one of the things I share with entrepreneurs who are nervous about getting on stage and speaking, or even going to networking groups and taking the lead at the front of the room. It lineates from you and your competition who isn't using speaking as a vehicle for promoting their business. And so it's the same with the book. It's putting yourself ahead of where your competition is. It really is.
Which is the perfect segue into the third problem that a book solves with respect to your marketing, and that's visibility. So just like you mentioned, in today's current climate, especially, how do you rise above the noise and get on what I like to call who's down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. And that is getting on other people's platforms. So just like I'm here today speaking on your podcast, there are live streams, there's TV, there's news, and there's radio. And these producers are looking to fill their space and their time with expert content. And a book opens the door for you to be perceived as that expert. So if you want to get in front of your target market even better, there is nothing that does it better and gets you more speaking opportunities than becoming a published author and having a book.
It's funny you mentioned that, because we have a mutual colleague who wrote a book a few years back. And one of the first things she did once she was published, Diana Lidstone, is she marketed that book. She was on television, a number of television stations, I believe, in Ottawa, and was taking that book everywhere. And it positioned her as an expert big time. But then, yeah, she took that marketing tool and really made it something very, very special, and it really boosted her business tenfold. So certainly I understand how that can be very, very relevant. There are a number of people who are not published, let's face it. There are a number of people who haven't written a book, and there are some common myths and misconceptions behind why people aren't writing a book. What are some of those?
That is a great question, Carl, because I get this over and over and over again. And what I hear from people all the time when I get on calls with them is they think it's going to take so much time. They think it's going to take a lot of resources and money, and they think it is going to be so hard. So I hear, oh my God, I am not a writer. But what I'm here to tell you is actually that it can be done super quickly. In fact, I was able to complete Write and Grow Rich in 10 days. I started writing on a Monday, and I quite literally had a book in my hand on a Wednesday the following week. Most people, if you are already an expert, if you are already teaching or training or working in a business, you have this content already ready to go. And all you need is someone to be able to show you how to put it all together and package it into a book. So it's quite easy, literally one of the fastest assets you'll ever create for your marketing. And I'm telling you right now, it does not take a lot of resources to put it all together. And the best part is, imagine if your book could just bring you and attract you one new client a month. Would it be worth spending a little bit of time and a little bit of money to be able to put that together, to be able to create that endless stream of prospects into your business so you could stop chasing?
When we're talking about the time factor, because I think for people, maybe not right now in the time we're in right now, but certainly for some people, I know it's one of the things that definitely bogs them down. And I'll be honest too, and say one of the things that slowed me down a few years back, I would say things like, well, I need that moment of inspiration to start writing, and then once I have that inspiration, it'll carry me through. But the time becomes a part of that as well. So how much time are we talking? You did it in 10 days, but there's a reason you were able to do it in 10 days. There's a system or there's a structure that walked you through that.
Of course, I have a system and a structure. So, and of course I had the content. So don't forget, I was teaching people how to do this already. So how I was able to pull it all together and how somebody else is more able to pull it together so quickly is if you already have content in the form of blog posts, if you're creating content on social media, if you've ever given a PowerPoint presentation. As an example, a lot of this content is already sitting and residing in your laptop or in your computer, ready for you to repackage and repurpose into that book that could change your life. And what I've developed is my signature 5-step program to help somebody with that. And not just the logistics, but I'm talking about planning. You can't just willy-nilly write a book. You need to understand what your goals are for your book, because it's not about selling books. It's about positioning yourself as that trusted expert, like we mentioned with Diana Lidstone, and using that book to not only attract your perfect clients, but to bring them into your community or into your tribe so that you can present them with your other service offering or a coach or a program that you have. So they're a tool designed to get people to get into your business sphere. And I do this through a 5-step process, the planning process. Then we talk about promotion, in the step 2 is promotion. And people get sometimes a little bit freaked out about that because they'll be like, oh my God, I can't start promoting right now. I haven't even written a single word. And I'm telling you, that's exactly when you need to start promoting. So you need to shout from the rooftops that you're the author of an upcoming book. And it starts opening doors even before you've started putting pen to paper. And then the production phase, which is where you were talking about, that people get so overwhelmed with, is where do I start? What am I going to write about? And I've got a simple process that actually maps it all out, that cures writer's block forever. You'll never have writer's block if you use this system that I teach in the production phase of the program. And then the last 2 phases are the publish phase, which are really the logistics. So nobody really likes that part, but it's a necessarily evil of getting it out into the world. And then the best part is the step 5, where it's the promote phase of the program, where I teach you how to take that book now and make a whole lot of money from it, which is exactly why I named the book Write and Grow Rich. So it's a really amazing tool, not only to bring a whole bunch of more income into your business, but to make a bigger impact and help more people. So it's kind of a win-win scenario, and it's why I am just so passionate about what I do to help other people.
So let me ask you this question, Kimberly. I have been hosting this podcast for over a year. Would you say I have a book?
I 100% say you have a book inside of you. No doubt about it in my mind. You probably had it before you ever started your podcast, because you've been teaching people how to speak from stages forever. For a long time. Like, you are an expert in your space, and you've gone from stages to virtual stages to podcasting. These are all ways that people can speak their expertise into life. And by all means, I guarantee you probably have a couple of books inside of you.
Let's talk about money for a minute, because I know that's one of the things that people will get bogged down with too. Is there's probably this thought, and I know it might be one of those misconceptions that it's expensive. It'll cost me tens of thousands of dollars to get something published. Is it really that complicated, or does your system make it really, really easy? It removes all the complication.
That is a great question. And it's kind of it depends answer. My first book actually cost me probably upwards of $15,000 to produce, but it was the first time I was going through it. Now, and by all means, some of that included the coaching, because I hired a coach to help me through the process. I firmly believe in that success leaves clues. And if you want to get from point A to point B faster and more effectively, then you should hire a coach or a consultant to help you through the process. We are not in an age where information is lacking about how to do it. Anybody can go on Google and figure out how to publish, how to do it on a really great budget. But the fact of the matter is, if you can accelerate your results and get your book bringing you new clients way faster if you follow a system. And because of that first experience where I spent a lot of money publishing, I have learned some really great hacks and tips and secrets on how somebody can do it on a really simple budget and still produce a result that does not look like it was produced on a budget, which is key, because people really do judge a book by its cover. So you need to make a good first impression. You don't want to just put something out that looks homemade or self-graphic designed or all that kind of stuff. But I really do have some amazing resources to help people through the process on a really good budget and quite simply get their expertise out into the world. Because quite frankly, we all deserve that right now.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad you mentioned the coaching aspect, not just because I'm a coach as well, but because there's something to be said about asking the expert to help you through the process, especially if it's something you've never done. There's a reason why I don't change the oil in my car. Could I do it? Absolutely. But my results would probably be very different, especially the first time, than just, taking it to a professional. And I know that's a very different area altogether, but I think it's the same in business as well. And there's a saying that's been tossed around forever: do what you're good at, for the rest, hire the professional. So if the thing you want to do is publish a book and you're looking to do it quick and dirty and cheap, that's not hiring a professional. And that could actually end up negatively impacting your brand and your business.
100%. A book is about elevating your brand, positioning yourself as an expert, positioning yourself as a trusted advisor, getting out onto more platforms. You do not want to waste that opportunity. You are going to have to spend a little bit of money, but I'm not talking about $15,000 like I spent. You can actually do it on a pretty tight budget and still produce a quality result. And absolutely, I am a big believer in never doing anything that either I'm not good at or I don't like to do on my own. I outsource all of that. People need to be working in their zone of genius, because that's where you're going to make a bigger impact. You're going to make more money and outsource the rest. I fully agree. And I would never change the oil in my car. Good golly geez, ever.
Well, that's good. That's why we have professionals to help us.
Oh, hell yeah.
My guest today is Kimberley Day. Kimberley, if people want to get a hold of you, or if people have been intrigued by anything that you've shared today, what's the best way for them to not only just get a hold of you, but then actually sit down with you and get some time with you?
Thank you for asking. That is a great question. You can find me on all of my social media platforms. They all have the exact same handle, and that's at The Real Kim Day. So the ampersand sign, The Real Kim Day. And that will get you to my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Pinterest. And you can reach out to me there. Probably the best platform is LinkedIn. You can get me by phone. You can schedule a meeting right into my calendar from my LinkedIn platform. And I would be happy to talk to anyone and offer any one of your guests listening, Carl, a complimentary 30-minute strategy session. If you think you have a book inside of you, or you just want some help with marketing, or you just want to tweak something, happy to hop on a call.
All right. Final thoughts on getting your marketing, getting your book out there. If there was one more thing you wanted to share, Kimberley, what would it be?
There is no better time than right now to position yourself as an expert. If you are an entrepreneur and you're struggling to get clients right now, the job of the entrepreneur is to solve problems for other people. So I have one last question to leave you with. Do you think there are more or less problems in the world right now? And I think you know the answer to that. You have a duty to share your expertise with the world. You need to get out there and help other people. And if you are an expert that can do that for people, especially in these challenging times, then shame on you if you don't live into your greatness and you don't do everything that you need to do to be able to help more people. So, and I believe truly that not only speaking, of course, because we're on this platform, but having a book and speaking are the two best ways to be able to do that with bigger impact.
Kimberley Day, thank you so much. And thanks for, by the way, kicking me in the butt and reminding me that I should I should book some time with you to get a full book published out there and in the hands of people who need my help as well. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. You are an amazing speaking trainer and you are an amazing human, and it is absolutely my pleasure.
Thanks, Kimberley. And again, if you want to reach out to her, she did drop her information on the podcast. You can go back and grab that information if you didn't write it down. If you ever have a question about anything you hear on the podcast, you can drop me a line too. It's askcarl@carlspeaks.ca. Until next time, it's Carl Richards. Get out there and own the platform.
Thanks for listening to the Speaking of Speaking podcast. Fired up about something you heard today? Want to learn more? Be sure to visit carlspeaks.ca. And don't forget to follow Carl on Twitter @CarlRichards72 or join the Facebook group Speaking of Speaking.